Welcome to Group 1's collaboration project, presented by Nick Gomez, Rachel Hendershot, Michael Melman, Sarah McGinley, Rick Tolman, and myself, Marcy Oakes. As a group, we decided on a thesis of the ecological damages as a result of dams outweigh the benefits that they provide. We should use safer energy sources to prevent the extinction of animals and damages to rivers and habitats. I am going to take you on a brief overview of dams. Dams are built to be used for water storage during a time of drought and to help with irrigation. Dams are also used to help control flooding and as an energy source. Here is a quote from the article Dam Building Decisions. Dams are considered engineering marvels for their ability to control floods, provide electricity, and irrigate once non-productive farmland, thereby improving the lives of millions of people. There is more to this quote. We will get to that in a minute. From the first half of this quote, though, we may think that dams are fantastic, and why would anyone question them? Let's take a look at one of the first dams that was constructed in the western United States as part of the Federal Reclamation Plan. In the 1870s, residents living in what is now Arizona along the Salt River realized they needed some sort of water storage system to avoid problems with water rights. Engineer and lawyer George H. Maxwell saw the need to create dams in the West to help make and sustain productive communities. When Theodore Roosevelt became president, he helped create the United States Reclamation Service, which helped pave the way for many of the dams built in the United States. The Theodore Roosevelt Dam was built on a bedrock foundation using Portland cement, stone, and trees from the surrounding canyons. A sawmill and cement plant were built nearby to help with construction. It was made in the shape of an arch and was equipped with generators to provide power to the nearby cities, including Phoenix, Arizona. In building the dam, there were problems with flooding that held the project back. The dam was eventually completed in 1911 and cost $3 million. Theodore Roosevelt also officially opened the dam. Here we look at the rest of the quote from the Dam Building Decisions article. But such improvements can come at a cost of environmental damage, displacement of people whose lands are flooded, and economic burdens. The Paiute Reservoir in central Utah recently underwent a facelift because of safety problems. A few of the concerns were that the tow drain system did not meet filter criteria. The reservoir was not equipped to handle a large flood. If that were to happen, the dam would be a total loss. The guard gate system was inoperable and stuck in the open position, and the steep upstream slope raised questions of safety if there were any earthquakes. The rehabilitation project took from 2002 to 2005 and cost $8.3 million, and is the state of Utah's largest rehabilitation project. I see now where the economic burdens are coming into play. This is just one example of the problems that dams are facing. I chose to look at these dams because they are located closer to us and may have more of an impact on our own lives than, say, the Chililo Dam. I will let my group members discuss some other problems and some solutions that can be worked out.
My name is Michael Melman, and I'll be discussing a little bit about the environmental effects of dams. Part of the environmental effects of dams, it's not just a physical, but there's also biological and health risks. Dams block the river. They're in preventing things from moving downstream. Dams prevent needed sediments to move downstream and cause erosion in the lower part of the river. Without those extra sediments, the river just slowly washes away most of the needed resources and rich soil that plants need to grow. Dams change the flow of underground water levels and destroy underwater caverns. When you dam up a river, it causes a large lake to form, and the water that may be coming up from underground just can't get out because there's no pressure to force it out, and it just becomes stagnant. Landslides occur with water levels changing because as the dam opens its floodgates, it continually causes water to rise and fall. Dams inadvertently cause earthquakes because of the shifting water levels. Part of the biological issues are dams prevent fish from spawning downstream where they initially spawned. So in other words, like salmon that return to their place of birth every year to basically reproduce, they have a harder time getting through the dam, even though they have the fish ladder and stuff like that. Plants and vegetation either cause overgrowth in the water because of the stagnant style of the lake. They're able to grow better, or they stop growing because they cannot get enough water to survive. Many animals and other wildlife that need the water for food and sustenance end up having to go elsewhere because they don't have access to it due to the landslides and no protection. Just as a point, I consider most dams to be an eyesore. That's just because once you get this huge thing of concrete built, while it does generate energy, and electricity, it just they're not pretty. The only one I can think of that's pretty is the Hoover Dam. And if anybody's ever been there, it is a monstrosity to see, but it is also, they've done a good job of making it actually something that's quite beautiful, in my opinion. Dams bring disease. As I mentioned before, with the stagnant water, or the low flow of water, it causes mosquitoes to reproduce. And when mosquitoes reproduce, they can carry all manner of diseases such as malaria. We have West Nile, and plus, their bites itch like crazy. I mean, it's just an annoying nuisance. Other parts of the ecological effects are, the sound is destroyed in the area. Birds can no longer really nest because, there's too much sound pollution. They choose to migrate to other areas, and it tends to cause, the population of birds to go down. Toxic materials may be released from the water because of stuff that's just uncovered during the points of erosion. And there's lots of flooding when dams aren't under control. The Chililo Dam project, opponents raised numerous objections. The dam would flood one of the richest wildernesses in Central America, destroying, the home of a dozen different endangered species.
Now that we've talked about the difficulties and the negative effects that dams have on our environmental systems, we should talk about alternatives for energy and ways we can get that. Now, there are difficulties with alternatives. It's not all fun and games, and I want to discuss some of those first. Some of the difficulties that we run into with alternate fuel sources are with solar energy. Right now, with our technology that we have, it's actually very inefficient and expensive to store it, so we have to use it immediately, which that presents a problem running into using it at night when the sun's not out. Another difficulty that we run into is if we try and do something like converting corn to ethanol for fuel. It actually takes more energy to convert it than is actually contained in the ethanol itself. So we're losing energy by trying to do that. Another problem that we run into is the oil fields in the Midwest of the United States, North Dakota, South Dakota, that area, are said to contain 800 billion barrels of oil. Well, that's enough oil to run the United States for the next 100 years. The only problem with that is these oil fields are in a place that are noted for its lack of water, and to extract a single barrel of oil, it actually takes several barrels of water. So that gets to be very expensive. when we are trying to extract that oil. However, one thing about alternate fuel sources that has been said before is the difficult can be done at once, the impossible takes a little longer. I like this because it means that the impossible can still be done. And we're always going to run into difficult things with any fuel source that we try, so we have to find the one with the least cons and the most pros in it. Pursue that one. So these are some solutions to the difficulties that we found. First, for solar power, Massachusetts Institute of Technology is actually working on a new process for solar power. Their process is basically that they take the sun's energy and use that energy to break apart water into the hydrogen and oxygen gases. They then take that, recombine them in a fuel cell where they're stored, and that way you have energy for any time you need it, not just when the sun is out. This also decreases the amount of carbon emissions that this fuel gives off, making it cleaner energy for the environment. MIT's new process is actually being funded by the National Science Foundation and the Chersonese Family Foundation. So they're working on that, and that should be done within a few years, and it's going to be much less expensive than actual solar energy that we have now. One thing that I found in my research is that the Utility Solar Assessment Study has outlined strategies that utility companies, solar power companies, and regulators should use to reach their goal of providing 10% of the total domestic energy supply from solar sources by 2025. So in the next 12 years, they have a goal of providing 10% of all of our energy through solar power. Another thing that presents itself is wind power. Wind power is much more cost effective, and they're a lot cheaper to build, save on capital costs, and they don't do as much damage to the environment. Studies have actually shown that people enjoy the aesthetic effect of the windmills on the landscape. And like I said, it's much safer and cleaner for the environment.
In conclusion, I'm going to restate what my other classmates have said concerning our opinion regarding dams. Dams have been used ever since the Egyptians 5,000 years ago, when they tried to control the effects the Nile River would cause on their society. Dams were ultimately created to control water. By controlling water, we are able to stop seasonal flooding. From it, irrigation and sustainable life in desert areas are able to happen due to the storage of water. Also, a country's power can be measured by the greatness of their dams, but ultimately, it offers potential energy power. There are many different dam types, but all are built with a solid foundation. This can hold many problems with developing and maintaining the structure. Many of these problems were not thought of in the creating and implementing of dams. These repercussions have caused dilemmas concerning the environment and humans. In the environment, the dams block migratory fish species from breeding, which have led to more than 20% of the world's 10,000 recorded freshwater fish species to become extinct or endangered. They also disturb the natural fluctuations of the river. This can cause a depletion of nutrients that affect the feeding and breeding grounds of fish. Also, reservoirs can emit greenhouse gas due to sediment buildup. This can cause harm to the environment and humans. A major health harm is that dams create a habitat for mosquitoes or snails that carry diseases like malaria to multiply. This allows diseases to spread across a society. Downstream drinking water can also become tainted. Dams, as well, are pushing people out of their native homes. According to WWF, 40 to 80 million people, especially indigenous societies, have become displaced due to the repercussions of dam creation. Financial harm can also occur when there is a loss of income to fisheries and farming. Overly optimistic benefits concerning dams can also cause a societal financial damage. Dams are not the only alternative energy source. Two alternative energy sources we looked into were wind and solar energy. Wind has been used for energy for thousands of years, but the first major energy use was in the 1390s by the Dutch. They constructed grain windmills to grind up the grain. Wind energy has less of an environmental impact by not emitting any greenhouse gas. Therefore, creates less smog and acid rain. Wind energy is also considered cheap when compared to others. Next is solar energy. It was being researched intensely in the early 1900s, but was put on the back burner due to fossil fuels. This energy is free and inexhaustible. Today, there is more research being done on the system. In conclusion, ecological damages as a result of dams outweigh the benefits that they provide. We should use safer energy sources to prevent the extinction of animals and damages to rivers and habitats.
For many years, dams construction as an obstacle against water movement and saving it, floodwater control and energy production, has been considered as one of the basic solutions of water control. Great dams are symbols of national pride, power, water and food supplier resource, floodwater controller, deserts cultivator, and a guarantee to national independence of every country. In reference to the Chililo Dam project in Belize, the project supporters, including Belize's Prime Minister, claimed that the dam was needed to bring cheap power to Belize, to reduce the country's dependence on foreign energy source, and to draw foreign investment. How are they built? Dam construction is normally the most critical construction process in a hydroelectric project due to its great influence on a project cost, duration, quality, and safety performances. During or before the process of construction, one must synthetically consider the unique surrounding environment, the distinct structure of the dam, and the diverse and emerging construction technologies affecting the project construction process. Current dilemmas. Effects on humans. Dams lakes can be a source of many contagious diseases such as malaria and blood diseases. During constructing phase, with coming the machineries and equipments of building the dam, sound level is intensified in the region severely. Also produce sound by relevant equipments and explosion done within the dam building causes to disturb privacy in the region. In reference to the Chililo Dam project, it would ruin an important drinking source for downstream communities. Financial effects. Villages and community in the area of the dam lake are drowned. It leads to immigration and increase in cities' population and arising false jobs. Destroying agricultural lands to provide dam constructing materials or drowning them causes unemployment of so many people. When referring to prominent dams such as the Roosevelt Dam, the dam was completed on March 18, 1911 and cost approximately $3 million. Also in reference to the Roosevelt Dam, the residents soon realized that some means of water storage would be needed if they and their crops were to survive the blistering summer months. In reference to the Chililo Dam project, it would further concentrate Belize's power sector in the hands of one foreign company. It would detract from tourism. Ecological effects. Also produce sound by relevant equipments and explosion done within dam building, causes leaving of the nests, migrating to adjacent regions, probability of abortion in mammalian, and laying eggs in birds are among the effects and sound pollution consequences. It is possible to release toxic materials such as pest killers, toxic metals, etc., and their effect on the food chain and decay of sensitive animals. With change in the quantity of carrying sediments, the places for fish to spawn are confined. Birds and animal migration, change in plants' growth, and destruction of some species. Occurring too much water floods resulting from releasing of overflows or spillways, water and drain cocks cause main physical, chemical, and biological changes in lower parts of dams. Because of the effects that water change has on the lake floor, it may cause inductive earthquakes. Landsliding happens that its effects lead to lessen the lake capacity, making high waves and dam overflowing and or destroying it. In reference to the Cholilo Dam project, opponents raise numerous objections. The dam would flood one of the richest wilderness areas in Central America, habitat for more than a dozen threatened and endangered species. Alternatives. Wind energy. Savings of wind power include avoided fuel costs, capital costs, and environmental damage. Wind power deployed in most present-day power systems with a diversity of old and new fossil fuel plants would obtain a greater credit for avoided emissions. Wind power produced in excess of the system load could potentially be wheeled into a neighboring system as opposed to being dumped at zero value. Solar energy. According to a new report from the clean technology research and publishing firm Clean Edge, solar power is becoming a cost-effective alternative and within a decade could cost the same as electricity generated from fossil fuels. Utilities relieve grid congestion by taking advantage of the fact that solar energy provides most of its energy during peak usage periods.
What you are seeing on the screen is the list of references our group used to put together this presentation. I have analyzed 3 of the sources using the CRAAP test to determine if our references contained and provided us with good and useful information. The first source I will analyze is Social Perspectives of Wind Power Development in West Texas. This article is about the social perspectives towards wind energy, examined from the perspective of a state that leads in installed capacity. This article was published in July of 2011. Topics such as wind power development require current information. Therefore, a source less than 2 years old is current, but much advancement or new breakthroughs could affect its relevancy. The information in this article is specific for the state of Texas, although provides a guideline for the other 49 states. This article discussed the opinions of government officials, homeowners, as well as prominent local businesses, which offer varying degrees of support and concern. Therefore, the information relates to our topic by providing an example of the public's reaction. The intended audience is researchers or students. The authors are Christian Brandstrom, Wendy Jepson, and Nicole Persons, who are associated with the Department of Geography at Texas A&M University. Their publisher is Taylor and Francis for the Annals of Association of American Geographers, which is a peer-reviewed scholarly journal. The authors provide their email and mailing addresses at the bottom of the article as a way for the readers to contact them. The information from this journal article comes from 52 sources and have been cited throughout the paper as well as in references section at the end. The language of the authors is unbiased and free of emotion. I did not come across any typos or grammatical errors. The purpose is to inform and teach the readers about the social perspectives of wind energy from the perspective of Texas, the leading state. The author makes their purpose very clear, even stating it in the abstract. The second article I will evaluate is Conquering the Arizona Desert, the Theodore Roosevelt Dam. This article provides information on the history of the constructed dam in Arizona. This article was published on August 1st of 2008. As I stated earlier, our topic requires current information, although because this is an analysis of historical landmark, the information has not changed and is therefore current. The information directly relates to our topic on the history of dams, which is presented by Marcy in the beginning of our presentation. The intended audience is students or researchers who may be interested in the history of dams or the Theodore Roosevelt Dam. The author is Brett Hansen, who wrote it for Civil Engineering, which is a scholarly peer-reviewed journal. Hansen is qualified to write for it for for this journal, as he is the editor of the American Society of Civil Engineers, among other places. The author does not provide any personal contact information within the article. The information comes from Hansen himself, and there are no additional citations. This article is peer-reviewed, and the language of the author appears to be unbiased. The purpose of this information is to inform and teach the readers about the history of the Theodore Roosevelt Dam in Arizona. The author makes his purpose clear. The information provided is of fact and does not contain any biases. The last article I would evaluate is A Solid Foundation, Belize's Chililo Dam and Environmental Decision Making, which describes the legal battle over the Chililo Dam in Belize. This article was published February 1st of 2008. This article is current information for our topic because it discusses the legal battle over the Chililo Dam, which is historical information. The information is incredibly relevant to our topic because the Chililo Dam is what sparked our interest in researching this topic in the first place. The intended audience are people specifically interested in legal battles of dams or the Chililo Dam. The author is Ari Hershowitz, and his publishing journal is Ecology of Law Quarterly, which is a scholarly peer-reviewed journal article. Hershowitz was the director of BioGEMS project at the NRDC. He worked with community and environmental groups in Belize to create an international campaign challenging the construction of the Chililo Dam on Belize's McCall River. Hershowitz cites as many sources throughout his paper, and the journal is located in a scholarly peer-reviewed journal. The language and tone does seem biased because he played such a vital role and invested so much of himself in the efforts to save the McCall River. I did not come across any spelling or grammatical errors. And the purpose of the information is to inform, teach, and persuade readers. The information is mostly fact with a little bit of opinion, and there are political and institutional biases within the article as well.